Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler. This is my friend Jaimee Rindy up there. For whatever reason, the microphone picked up Jaimee first. And there's my friend Chris Ford, also up there, aka the Objective Geek. And we have a special episode for you today. Today we're talking about puns and ships. Mostly ships. We'll do what we can on the puns. We'll do those on the fly. And we've been talking about this episode for a while. And we brought Jaimee on because she is our resident ship expert.
Yes.
I don't.
That's anyways. I guess we'll find out.
We should have talked about titles before we started. I didn't think to ask you what your ship titles were. I have
She
no
is the ship captain.
ship captain.
I'm the Zutara ship.
You guys are like ship captains, and I'm on a lighthouse somewhere flashing a light bulb, and that's what we're gonna do today. Is we're gonna talk about ships. I had just a couple quick minor intro things, I think, before we get started. Oh, hey there. Welcome back, Jaimee. Jaimee, it's great to have you on the show. And thanks for holding out for this episode. We're pretty excited to get into one of, I think, your favorite topics.
It is one of my favorite topics. Yeah, I love this idea, and I've been waiting for this episode for so long. Back, you guys had to get all the way to the live-action movie. Wow. But we have made it. We are here.
Jaimee, I can't believe I watched that. And it's not that it was all that horrible. It's just a waste. That's all I'm going to say. It was a waste. Well, great. We're like I said, we've been waiting to do this one for a while. In between seasons seems kind of appropriate. And it's also Christmas, so it's a special Christmas episode. I don't know what that has to do with shipping. It's just special. Merry Christmas. This is your ship epised world that you've been waiting for.
Merry Christmas. It was 2 days ago.
It was, yeah.
Oh.
It's...
We're actually prepping for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it was definitely 2 days ago. Yeah, no, we're talking about it on Christmas. You're just not saying this is Christmas Day. I'm just kidding. It's not. And I mean, I feel like I should just obligatorily ask, like, any special Christmas plans or gifts on your Christmas list, or I feel like we have to say something about Christmas.
Not for me. The thing is, you'll think that I'm pretty easy to shop for because if you just buy me anything Batman, then I would like it.
Chris, I literally see 1,000 things a year that I'm like, I bet Chris would like that. 1,000. It's worth pointing out that I go to a lot of garage sales and thrift shops and things, so it's pretty easy fodder.
The thing is, my wife is like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, "I don't know. Just give me something Batman." She's like, "There's more to you than being Batman." I'm like, "Well, yeah,
that
but don't give me like
really
some
deep.
bug."
I know. I was like, really? Whoa, you should like make that your Twitter bio. Like, there's more to me than being Batman.
I think that's an excellent Twitter bio. Yeah,
It was really deep.
Bruce Wayne is a person. Come on, people.
But apparently I can't think of anything for her to really give me for Christmas. The thing is, I tend to buy whatever I want as if I just have a lot of money, which I don't. It's just that I buy cheap things. I'm like, oh, well, here, I'll just buy that. That's on sale right now. Why make my wife buy it for me when she won't get it on sale?
I'm the same way. I spend money like I have it, but I'm thrifty. I get it. Jaimee, what about you? What's on your Christmas list?
I don't want a lot of stuff, but I always ask for concert or show tickets. Like, that's always what I want.
Asking for an experience. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. Because I could kind of, I could get something if I want it. I'm super impatient, so I would probably just order something on Amazon. But no, I like concerts a lot, and I love shows. So.
I'm gonna speak on behalf of Chris and myself here when I say that we are infinitely nerdier than our wives. And we're not nerdy in the same way, but it's a similar issue in both of our homes that our wives are not nerds and we are. And that makes shopping difficult for them. So I also, my list is very specific. It's like, hey, I want exactly this game. And wife's like, well, just go get it. It's not a surprise. Just go get it. But anyway, that's all right. No big deal. Well, thank you for joining us for our Christmas special, quote unquote. I wish I had like Christmas music or something to play right here, but I don't. Maybe next year we'll be more professional next year. But in the meantime, I'm really excited to talk about puns and ships. Before we start though, Chris is going to lay down some ground rules, and then Jaimee's going to drop some knowledge on us about how this is going to work and what puns and ships is.
Yes. So, first of all, if you get the reference of the title of this episode, Puns and Ships, you get 1,000 fake money dollars.
Fake-
How
in digital
Puns and-
monopoly monies.
you get
Yes.
a bunch of $10 bills, right?
You get to be my friend because you like both Avatar: Last Airbender and Hamilton. Because this is based off reference to a song called Guns and Ships. And if I don't stop myself, I will just finish the rest of that song. But
I mean, you don't have to like Avatar to be here, because like, what if you were gonna type in YouTube guns and ships? But our podcast is so popular that it comes up to the top of the search results in guns and ships. Somebody accidentally clicks on it, and they're like, "What the hell is Avatar: The Last Airbender?"
And then we've opened them to a new world.
We've introduced them to a
Stories.
tremendous, maybe best TV show ever. You're
Yes.
welcome.
yeah.
You're welcome. Lost
And-
I almost said it.
And Avatar fans, you maybe discover Hamilton, which is an amazing play. I haven't watched the play. It was an amazing soundtrack.
I've seen it. It's amazing. Hamilton's the best. It's just incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's nice that one of the three of us has actually seen it. If we're gonna plug it, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
But
I-
Chris, I trust your judgment too, for what it's worth. I know you've experienced enough of it that I would still take your recommendation.
But like, no, it's really good. Well worth it.
Yes. All right. So this episode of Puns and Ships, we're going to discuss the many, many ships of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Only Avatar: The Last Airbender, no Legend of Korra or Rise of Kyoshi, because they're great ships and they deserve another episode, because this is going to be a lot. We're going to break this down into 3 categories of ships: the ships that are canon, the ships that are credible ships. Credible ships meaning like one character has a crush on the other, or maybe the creators have hinted towards it, or maybe other characters in the show have hinted towards this ship. And then there are the incredible ships, which just come kind of completely out of nowhere. A lot of them are more like fan fiction, incredible fan fiction ships, or just, fan fiction, what fans want. And then we're going to discuss each ship, and we're going to rate it, either ship it, float it, or sink it. Ship it being we support the ship a lot, we like it. Float it being like, whatever, it's okay. And sink it meaning that it's a terrible ship, hate that ship. That shit sounds like so crap.
This ship, I want it pirated. It's awful. Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. Shipping is a super fun fandom thing to do, and if listeners, you are not in the fandom world, shipping is just basically a fun little idea to think about, what a relationship between 2 characters would look like. And because we say that we ship something does not necessarily mean that we want it to be canon, and maybe we're not saying that it would even be like the best canon situation. And obviously, like, I think that the 3 of us, at least, what they did in canon was probably for the best, for the most part, as far as like which characters actually got together. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we want it to be canon. We just like that ship. And also, ship what you ship. It's all fun. No hate.
Yes.
I'm probably gonna say that I hate some ships, but it's not. I don't hate anybody personally.
It's a certain kind. It's like a surface level hate, not a underlying foundational hate.
Yeah.
We're not trying to start drama, but we are trying to have some fun. So ship what you ship, man. I guess
We are trying to start a very localized, non-serious drama, like a very acute, right here kind of drama. But that's
if you want to ship Flaming Mouth guy with the cabbage guy's cabbages, go ahead, do that.
That's great.
That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
That's a great example. Good work, Chris.
And obviously, we're also assuming these are all. We're not shipping any characters over the age of 18 with any characters younger, obviously, for obvious
Oh,
reasons.
there goes half of my good ones.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. Although I was thinking about so can you remind me, it's probably the wrong time for this, what's the name of Zuko's like one date girlfriend from Ba Sing Se? What's her name?
She's in this. Jin.
Jin? She seems like the type that to me that would like date, like if she were in high school, she'd date the 25-year-old guy that wears the tap out clothes She seems like that type to me. And I
Why?
thought, I bet that's Sparky.
Wow.
That's Sparky Boom Man right there. That's who that is. He probably wears tap out clothes in public. And
He probably does.
yep. Sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Where's
That's
the ship between Sparky, Boom Man, and Jin?
I just started it. There it is. You're welcome, world. No, I'm just being judgmental of Sparky Boom Man. I don't know what he's really
Oh,
like.
you know what? If I had to ship somebody with Sparky Boom Man, although he's dead, maybe
Spoiler
maybe
alert.
maybe it'll be June.
Oh!
For some
Oh
reason.
my god, you're so right.
I dig it.
So,
Yeah, I'm game. Let's do this. Let's have
I'm game.
Chris write it down. Let's talk about that later.
All right.
All right. Sorry, Jen. I tried to hook you up. I know she's into bad boys, or she thinks she is. Maybe I don't know. I'll shut up now. This is every time I open my mouth, something stupid comes out. I'll be quiet. Okay, so we got.
Also want to say we can ship and like ships that contradict each other. Like you can
True.
ship both Zutara and Kataang, even though those two things are fairly mutually exclusive.
But people have intermixing feelings all the time. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's true. It's true. We can ship both.
I did.
We selling all the ships out here.
Yeah, why not? I did my best. My best attempt at ship puns here. Let's set these ships out to sail and see which ones float. But Chris, I didn't realize what you said was brilliant. The ship it, float it, sink it. That's way better than what I put. Which there's Mang and Aang. Ain't they cute? That's way better than what I put. Which is canon, everything in between, and outlandish. I like what you said. Way better. Way better. I forget what you said. Canon, credible, and incredible. That sounds way better.
Well, those are the categories, but the ship it, float it, stink it. That's more of the how we rate it.
I also liked what you said with the canon, credible, and incredible too. That was also way better than what I put here. Okay, so just ignore those. I can't reach my hands over. And
category 3 is a crack ship, by the way.
It's a crack.
It's a crack ship. That's what it's called.
I want you both to know that I've learned more about ships in the first 12 minutes we've sat here than I've ever thought about ships in the rest of my life combined. That's good. It's a learning experience for me. It's good for me. Let's get rolling. Let's do this. Yeah.
Let's get rolling. Start with ship number 1, which is. Have a list, or do I have a list?
Oh no, you didn't send me a list. You got a list?
Oh, I thought you had the. Sorry, my bad.
No,
okay.
man, I ain't got no list.
I thought you were gonna use the list that I sent you earlier.
Did you send me a list?
Yes.
Oh, what?
This list. Where were you?
Was it in the middle of like 12 other messages that I ignored?
Probably.
Yeah, I think you were cookies, Shawn. That's what you said.
I was baking cookies and I was not happy about it. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
Now I'm embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed.
You should be embarrassed.
No,
it's okay.
I rightfully am embarrassed.
Let's skip that. Okay, cast crew. Let me go to. I'm glad I have my tablet on me.
I'll just sit here and
yeah. I was like, oh, you know what? One thing is, I was about to ask. I was like, hey, Shawn, do you need anything? You got my list, right? And I was like, nah, he has my list. I sent it to him. We talked. Okay, but I have it right here.
Not the first time I've dropped a ball today. That's for sure.
The thing is, I was for sure that you're gonna have it like on the. Anyway, it doesn't matter because I have the list right. Okay, so the first ship.
I said I was sorry, Chris. I honest to goodness had to say I didn't read any of those messages before I sent that I was making cookies. That was my way of apologizing for not reading any of those messages. My bad.
So yeah, now we get that Shawn just ignores all of our group texts.
There was like 13 of them.
That's a low number, honestly.
And it was Jaimee. I don't have friends other than you guys. This is the only text I send. 13 is the max number that I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Wait. Let me show what. See the time stamp here. Okay, I sent something at Tuesday 9:01 p.m. Dang. Okay. I sent the list of ships. Jim responded, incredible. I'm not gonna say all of it anyway. Me and her go back talking about Zutara ships and stuff like that. Still us. 9:22, 9:47. I say something about Zutara ship at 9:47, and then you say it really checks out. And then I was about to type something really long about Zutara, but then I said, "No, I'm gonna wait for it for the podcast." And you said, "Can't wait to hear it." And then Shawn at 11:13 p.m.
Is that not enough proof right there?
I have been I have been making cookies and missing everything. But
That was
I assume you went back and read it.
no, that was
It's not like
my
it was
that was my way of sort of apologizing. Like, I'm not gonna go read that stuff.
And look at what happens when you
Gosh.
You
Go
see how
back,
red I
really
am? This
important.
is the face of embarrassment. And for audio only listeners, I'm very red and embarrassed. But I really was making cookies. It was way past my bedtime. That was just me being like, sorry. And then I went to bed.
2 hours later.
Normally
Okay.
our conversation is, like, not important at all, but this one time.
But I was just saying, we talk about a lot of things. And you, no offense, but it was you two guys. And I saw Zutara like twice. And I was like, I don't care.
You were
I'm
like,
not
I'm out.
I'm not going to read that. Sorry to give away some of my feelings on Zutara. Okay. Long
first,
story short,
I have the
I
list.
didn't put the list in. My bad. I know I'm joking, kind of, but not really. I'm genuinely sorry. But thankfully, Chris has his tablet. Walk us through, Chris.
Okay, first ship we're gonna go over is the Sukka ship, which is the Sokka and Suki ship. Now, I really like this ship. I think this is the the most healthy relationship in all of the series. Like these two people are like kind of on the same level. They both really love each other. Um, and like they had a more of a gradual relationship, right? They knew each other. Sure, Suki did kiss him right away. Actually,
Unlike day
was
one.
that the first? Yeah, like day one. I mean, it was a cheek kiss. Come on,
Yeah,
it's not like a.
Fine. But it was,
Yeah.
it went both ways. He wanted that too. It's fine. It's all
I'm just
good.
jealous
Yeah.
because I had to wait several weeks for a cheek kiss. I'm just jealous of Sokka's lightning quick moves.
Even after his sexist comments and everything.
Even after, right, like, does that guy have to even try? Wow.
Yikes.
Sokka's
Yikes.
my hero, man.
Apparently, Sokka doesn't have to try, as we'll see with a lot of these ships.
Yeah, Sokka's like, he's in a lot of them. No, I agree. I totally ship it. It's super cute. Does a great job. It holds up through 3 seasons, man. It's incredible.
I like
Yeah,
it better.
even
the
holds up through
longer-
his ex. Even holds up through his I won't say ex-girlfriend or former girlfriend dying and becoming the moon. But
So then
Despite
Suki becomes like a rebound chick, kind of. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh.
I mean, she's still, yeah.
It's actually interesting though because Suki comes first, and then she
Yes.
outlasts. So I think that's interesting. Despite what actually, I mean, despite the like other circumstances surrounding Sokka's other relationship. But yeah, it's a good one. I should.
Yeah, in the comics, they are still together. We don't know, in Legend of Korra, we don't know where that ship went. There was a random interview with the creators, and they're like, yeah, they went and they moved to the suburbs. And so that is the most canon answer we can get right now, that they're in the suburbs somewhere, whatever the suburbs is in
Is that-
Avatar.
the suburbs of is that even true though? Because I thought at one point that there was like an interview that one of the creators was like, yeah, they don't all have to marry each other. Like maybe
Oh, yeah.
like another family.
Oh, no, they definitely said that. That was, and I think I used that as a reference for my who did Toph Mary. Oh, that's a commentary. It's a commentary for the episode Operation Beifong and Legend of Korra and season 4. Yeah, they pretty much say that.
I ship Sokka and Suki. I do. Do I think they got married? No. That's a
I don't. Yeah, that's a different conversation. I don't think they do either, because people, no matter how healthy a relationship is, sometimes people grow apart.
Yeah.
And I guess it's valid that it could happen here, and we don't have any proof that didn't happen.
True.
Shawn, what do you think about this ship?
I do like it. I like it more as it goes along. Just when they get to know each other better and you get more character development on each side. Calling it healthy seems like a little stretch because I think, like I said, they came out. I don't know how to say this nicely, But I think Sokka, everywhere he goes, he has, let's call it luck in a couple places. It's because he's the new guy. He's the outsider. There's like an air of intrigue to him. But the fact that he does last with Suki is what makes it interesting or good to me. They stick it out. They seem like a nice personality match. So yeah, I'm on board for Sokka and Suki for sure.
All right, so is that so final ratings on this for me? It's a definite ship it.
Ship it.
Yeah, ship it. Absolutely. Hey, 3 for 3. If I had known
3
about
for
this earlier,
3.
I'd have 3 tally marks right up on the screen right now. Use your imagination. Ding, ding, ding.
More things that we were unprepared for.
You guys don't have to take. I'll take the blame. You don't have to take the blame. More things.
So
Shawn
you'd
was
also have a
unprepared for.
name by those tally marks, but
We could. Yeah,
okay,
we
so
could.
the next ship is Yuka, which is the UA and Sokka ship. Jaimee, I think you start us off there.
Yeah, this one for me, I wouldn't say that I don't ship it, but also like it's super boring. Like, thank you, next. I'm bored. I feel bad to say it, but I'm like really glad that she did not last long. Like, maybe I want her to be her character. Okay.
Subtext: Jaime's glad she died.
Yeah, that's what I took away.
That's what I heard.
Okay, let me like the difference.
All I heard was "Go enjoy the moon, bitch." That's all I heard.
She ruined my other shits.
That's funny because the moon and tides and ships and Chris, that was like a deep pun right there. What do you go? That was like next level puns.
No, I think that Yue would have been, I wish we could have seen more of her, but she was always kind of like very like much in relation to Sokka in what we saw of her. Like, she did a great thing in, I guess, sacrificing herself. Yikes. But I don't think it would have lasted. I don't know. I did not ship it. They were cute for the 5 seconds that they were on screen together. Thank you, next.
Yeah, so like, I mean, they were together for what, 2 days, and I feel like Sokka fell madly in love pretty quickly.
Like, she's beautiful and the princess, and like, I feel like it was kind of like a very superficial falling, but yeah.
I think this relationship does feel fairly superficial. The thing about it though is that I absolutely love the ending of it, of her turning into the moon, becoming the moon spirit, and kissing Sokka, that final kiss. Like, that is a cinematic masterpiece of her, you know, she plants the kiss. Like, right? Like, Sokka, it's funny because it's such a kind of a switch, I think, on gender roles. Like, like, to me, Sokka feels like the princess, the stereotypical princess who fell in love with something, and this person has to go off and have their own responsibilities as the moon. So I find that interesting, but I don't find necessarily ship all that interesting. Probably because it does feel more like superficial. Like, hey, I'm Water Tribe. We're like the same age. You're cute. I'm cute. You seem like a nice person. I'm a nice person, and it, to me, doesn't go that much deeper than that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree because I'm bored just talking about this one. No, everything I said.
Load it.
Everything I said about Sokka earlier being just interesting because he's the outsider, but this one's like doubled up because clearly Yue just wants what like she can't have in this situation. So it's like, just, I don't know. I'm sinking this one. I don't care for it at all.
Ooh. I am going to. Yeah, I'm going to float it.
I'm not going to sink it, but I'll float it.
I'm going to sink a lot of things today, my friends.
You as the ships go on, you're gonna see that I like the wild ones.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
those are the juicy ones, the interesting ones. Those are the ones I'm gonna float out of like intrigue and not hatred. But this one I'm gonna sink for sure.
All right,
Chris, you said you're floating that one too?
Oh yeah, I'm floating that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, didn't come out as bad.
All right. The next one. Yeah. The next one is Mako ship. Mako is a combination of Mei and Zuko, and this is probably the most relationshipy ship on the show. Like, these two go through, to me, an actual beginning, middle, beginning again relationship that is far more detailed than any other one in the show, and to me that draws more criticism on the ship. Because to me, this is like probably one of the most unhealthiest ships in the show.
Yeah, we've talked about this one before. Actually, when on the episode that I was on before, when I had said that I absolutely hated Mai and Zuko, this was before I read the comics, and actually my opinion on them has changed. Because Mai got a ton of attention in the comics, and I really like it now. That being said, for like what we got in the show, just purely based on that, I still am not a fan. I think this is like a very incredibly unhealthy relationship, and I liked it. Yeah. John, what's your take?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sinking this one. I hate it. It's so dull. It's really
Well,
dull, and I don't. It's just strictly a product of circumstance, and they don't share goals or anything at all. Really, it's only there just to like give Sukka something almost.
Yes, and let's talk about that too, right?
That's all it is.
Because she's already there, kind of even like well before she's been introduced and well before we know anything about Zuko, they've already like attached someone to him, and I don't
that. Care for that. So I know again I'm expecting maybe you guys to float it based on the last one, but I'm sinking it. I hate it. It's boring. It's lame. Nothing good comes out of it.
I will say this. One of my favorite moments comes from the ship, but they're not together. It is the scene at the Boiling Rock. It is the scene at the Boiling Rock. Zuko and Sokka are getting away, and they stop the gondola. Then Mai out of nowhere comes out, gets the gondola to keep going, and then the soldiers capture Mai. And Azula is like questioning her. She's like, "Why would you do it? You knew the consequences." And then Mai says to her, "You miscalculated. I love Zuko more than I fear you." And oh gosh, that is one of the most BA things.
That's a great moment. And I do like I constantly sound like I just hate her, and I don't. Like that's not what I want this to like sound like. I think that, like Shawn said, this is a product of circumstance, and while I think it gets developed so much better in the comics, I'm gonna float it just because it does get better. But had it not been for the comics, I would have saved this ship.
Chris, you just described the only good part of like 3 seasons worth of that ship in one sentence, and it's cool, it's powerful, but come on, is that enough?
Man, you know what? I'm in between float it and sink it. I think. Well, no. I'm going to deliver one. I'm going to deliver an answer. I'm just trying to think in my mind, contemplate. I think for the sake of both these characters, they don't. Yeah, I'll just sink it.
Oh, you know what? Then cool. If we're all cool with sinking it, then I'm sinking this one.
Yeah, let's all sink it together. It just exists. It exists just because, and it doesn't mean that it's inherently bad, but it exists for no reason other than it's there. That's
honestly, it causes me more problems than it brought me good. So
yeah, agreed. Isn't that nice? Okay. We all 3 agreed. That's kind of fun. Well, we all 3 agreed on the first one too. Never mind.
Yeah, but that one was like.
That's that was a my first ship kind of ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Baby's first ship. Shawn's first ship, really, is what it was.
All right, next is a fairly short-lived in canon ship. That is Zutara, the ship between Jet and Katara. Okay, I'm going to take back what I said about Mai and Zuko's ship being the most unhealthy one, and I'll say that this was the most unhealthy one because he was just clearly manipulating Katara, and she was just so doughy-eyed, and yeah, this is
a bad time.
Yeah, this is a bad ship.
Jaimee, mind if I jump in next?
Go ahead.
So I've got.
You already don't like Jet.
I do. Okay, but I'm trying to separate that feeling here.
Okay.
I will say, so the last one I had here, Jet and Katara, I have a little bit above that because of some of Jet's redemption things later on, and some of the things that are not necessarily his fault and good intentions and whatnot. But yeah, I still absolutely hate it. So it's going down. It's just not going down for me as hard as Mai and Zuko.
Actually, because I think it's interesting that it gets better for you because of his stuff. Because Katara still, but like when he goes through his whole redemption arc, that's when Katara like hates him the most. So like, I don't like to me that makes it almost, I don't know. This is not a good ship. I like, though, this is written very cleverly because the writers were not trying to convince us as audience members that they were supposed to be together or that they're good together or anything like that. Like, it was quite the opposite. Like, they were like, this is a manipulative relationship. He is using her very obvious feelings towards him for his personal gain. So it was never meant to be a ship to be taken seriously, and I think it's just a really, really strong example of how to write this kind of relationship for the point of the audience.
Can we all agree though that it's at least more interesting than Zuko and May? Like, just in general, more interesting to talk and think about?
I think the history behind Zuko and May makes that one a little bit more interesting.
Fair enough.
Man, there would be no redemption for May and Zuko if not for the comic, in my eyes.
Fair enough. And I still haven't read the comic, so I get no redemption from them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they grow up.
All right, so I'm pretty sure that's all three sync.
Yeah,
the Jetara.
Yeah. Terrible.
Next is Chazula. If you don't know what Chazula is, it is the ship between Azula and Chan.
Oh.
Chan was in one episode of The Beach. Him and Azula kissed, and they shared. Azula had high ambitions for them. I would say, oh, you actually got it there.
That is just one of the pictures I picked because I was like, hey, there's a ship I hate. And then I grabbed the picture. Sorry, spoiler alert. I'll leave it up while we talk about them.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So they got together at Chan's. Chan was throwing a party, as high schooler does when their parents are gone. You know what? It's interesting though, because he one thing I'll say about Chan is he was willing to go out with her before he even knew that she was the princess. Like, that is real love there.
There was nothing, no other reasons. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and just sink this one right off the bat. A relationship that begins at a party. I'm not saying it can't happen, but like, that cannot be all you go off of. Also, Azula was just not in a great headspace during this whole situation. So
Probably
because even she didn't like to sit through this episode.
No, I'm gonna keep saying
Jaimee.
positive things about this ship. The good thing about this is that this ship made Azula feel vulnerable for once. Really maybe let her guards down a little bit. Something that no other man has done. Chan did that.
I have to.
We're gonna have to slap like an adult rating on this. I'm just curious. It's not for kids. That's.
I think that she was already kind of losing her mind at that point.
Yeah.
And also, like, I don't know, like, if you meet somebody, this is the same thing. Like, meeting someone at a high school party is like the equivalent of like meeting someone just like at a club or like at a, not like a bar, but like at a club where just no one's in their right mind. Like,
no one's 100% in those places.
Yeah, no, and it's just like sort of a matter of circumstance. But this is such a good episode, and I hate to talk about it in review.
I will say this ship ended with Azula scaring the living crap out of Chan to the point of anime eyes, and Avatar doesn't do that often.
No, it doesn't, does it? It really uses anime eyes with scarcely to great impact.
Yeah. I think he just says, "I'm gonna go," because she says like the whole like, "We together after the kiss, together we will conquer the world," and like all the fire starts blasting.
Yeah.
All right, so Shawn, what's your final grade?
Azula is one of my favorite villains. Period. Okay. But I hate Chan, and I hate this episode, and I hate this ship. It's going down. No offense, Jaimee. I'm not saying it just to antagonize you. I do just not like it.
It's fine. I understand. We're gonna like different things.
Yeah, we'll talk about this episode. It's coming up pretty quick here.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty quick. So we'll talk about it some other time.
And Jaimee, you sink this ship as well?
Yeah, I sync it.
You know what? I'm going to sync it. Yeah.
Okay.
No matter how much positive stuff I could put on it.
Are you guys kind of keeping track? I'm just taking mental note of how many I float and sync and otherwise. Just out of curiosity's sake.
Well, I guess I could start.
That would be.
I'm just taking mental note for fun.
I'm
I'm at a low rate right
having
now.
a list here.
I'm at a very low rate at the moment.
All right. So, do you have notes, Jaimee?
Well, I'll start.
Okay. All right. We'll figure. Okay. So the next ship, which for some reason I want to talk about, even though it is it's not a ship many people talk about, but I think it's worth talking about. It is the Graham Paku ship, the Graham and Paku ship. All right. This is a ship that goes decades, lifetimes even. When Graham was a young girl in the Northern Water Tribe, she was betrothed to a young Paku, and she left because she didn't want to live by their cultures and be forced into a marriage. Ooh, sorry, my dog is like licking my Hey Arnold figurine there. And then years later, when they're really old people, Grandpa Paku decides, hey, I don't want to be sisters anymore, and goes back, finds Graham. They get back together, or they get together, and he makes her new betrothal necklace. I find this weird. Like, I mean, if she didn't, maybe it's just an old person thing. Like, hey, I don't got that much time left anyway. I'll hook up with anybody. But like, if she didn't like him at first, why get with him to begin with? Like, she went to the clear, literally as far away as she could from him.
Literal opposite end of the planet.
Yeah, that's true. She tried really, really hard to get away. The opposite pole, people. The literal opposite pole.
Yeah, no, I'm actually I'm gonna agree on that point. This happens a lot actually, like both in real life but also in fiction as well, that we see a person, like, oh, they've changed for the better, and it's usually a guy that's like, no, we've changed for the better, and so now that it's, like, now love's gonna work out. And I think that it's also very important to just take into consideration what she actually wanted. I'm not gonna say I sync it though, because we know that she does like eventually kind of come around. So I guess like if it's what she wants, it's cool. But yeah, I see this happen all the time, and I'm just like, ugh, I don't. I just want to actually be happy, not like superficially happy.
Shawn, thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I'm syncing it because I'm anti-arranged marriage. I feel like her actions later were not reflective of her previous actions. But again, I will say at least this one is kind of interesting, I guess, to talk about. It's fun to appreciate the lore built into the Avatar: The Last Airbender into before what we're seeing currently on screen. I think that's really cool. But as a ship goes, I'm still syncing it. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm gonna sync it.
Yeah, okay. I'll float it. I'm still floating.
That's fine. I mean,
the thing is, like, I don't think I sync something unless I like viscerally like this is causing me physical pain to look at. Like, that's probably when I sync things. Otherwise, I'll float it.
That's fair. That's fair. I apparently have a high standard for floating. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
All right. The next canon ship is Jinko. That is the ship between Jin and Zuko. Jin was the Earth Kingdom girl that Zuko went out on a date with and tells of Ba Sing Se. And that's pretty much what they did. They went on a date and they kissed. And I think this is a pretty good ship because, Zuko, I think he is genuinely happy with her, and it's not forced.
I completely disagree.
Chris, what are you talking about?
I cannot.
Did you watch them trying to eat dinner together?
What episode were you watching?
The happiness was not forced. Okay, at the end there, when Iroh asks him, how was your date? He gets mad, he shuts it, and he opens it. He sincerely says, it was nice.
That's true. He does.
That is him being completely open and honest.
It was nice.
Okay, Chris, after you... if you take a lady out on a date And at the end of the night, she slams the door in your face when you ask her how it was.
No, she didn't. She didn't slam the door.
And then she cracks it back open and says, "It was nice." How you taking that? How you rolling
One
forward?
thing
with
we all know how angry Zuko is. So that was like a gleeful relative to other people. I was like a gleeful, exuberant, joyful, yippee jumping on clouds type of thing.
This episode the same at all. No.
Same. Again, it's really cool to. It's very neat to see Zuko like outside of his comfort zone and trying to behave more like a normal human as part of his metamorphosis. And that's all really neat, but that doesn't mean that I like this ship at all. And that's nothing against Jin. She seems like a nice girl. Her and Sparky Boom Man are probably gonna live happily ever after, but not her and Zuko. That ain't right. No, I'm sorry. Sparky Boom Man, you said was with June. You might be right.
Yes.
That's probably better.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
That one's in the incredible section down at the bottom. We'll get to that one later.
I completely like. It's so interesting that you read this whole like little Tale of Bossing Say as like a happy thing, because like Zuko does like he's getting out of his comfort zone and he's like trying to open up, and it's this like really weird awkward date thing, and I love this little piece of this episode. It's really cute, but if anything, like it makes me more sad because it really just hits home that like he can never have this normal life, this normal date. Like this is not something that he was ever in any form gonna have. Like he was always gonna be, if he wasn't gonna be the Fire Lord, which probably an arranged marriage. Like now he's at war and now he's in hiding. Like he's not gonna be able to like pursue a relationship like this. And I think that and going to like the entire theme of Zuko's arc in season 2, I think that he's like wholly unhappy even when he's supposed to be happy. Like he has what he was supposed to get. And I don't know, like to me, this feels so superficial, and it's like he knows that he's kind of like destined for something better, and not necessarily that she's a bad, like nothing against her, but I think that just like he knows that this is not what he wants.
This got heavy real fast there, man. It hit my feels really hard.
This is an interesting ship to talk about because the purpose of this whole like little drop or this whole scene.
The ship isn't interesting, but what it represents is interesting.
But what it represents exactly. I mean, Tales of Bossing Say is so powerful in that way that those little vignettes, they're so simple and so small, but they really have like so much character packed into them. And yeah, the ship is cute, but come on, Zuko needs someone like way more hardcore. Like, there's not,
Yeah, but May is the hardcore one.
Yeah, it's true. We already sunk that one, Jaimee. You're gonna have to make up your mind. I know what she's saving Zuko for. It's fine.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, there is a happy medium here. It does exist.
Two things, and neither one of them is important. I just have to get them out. First, I can't hear the word vignette without thinking about like a delicious pastry. And second,
I can't either.
I don't know what that word means.
So okay. I'm also really hungry right now. And then two, Chris, when you said Mako earlier, I can't not think of Mako Tsunami as the first thing. I had to like plug my mouth, keep from laughing, because all I could think of is Mako Tsunami. And then we talked about anime eyes, and just thinking about Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Okay, I'm done. Those are my tangents.
All right, well, you guys aren't too hot on that ship.
Nope.
No, I think it.
There's a pun there. Anyway.
All
right, so both of you are sinking it, correct? And I am shipping it. Yeah, I'm officially.
Just gonna throw ships around like that. Nobody's gonna believe you when something important comes up, Chris.
Exactly.
That's interesting. This is probably the most we've been off.
Oh yeah.
So that's interesting. All right, next is one of the most hot button ships. In fact, I put these two ships together because they're a good segue into each other. The next canon, make that clear, canon ship is Kataang, which is Katara and Aang. What more needs to be said about these two? I will say there are certain elements of the relationship, certain things happen that that I don't like necessarily. Like when Aang kisses her in times that she didn't want to be kissed. Hated that Aang wasn't a good person at that point in time. But you know what? Relationships sometimes don't have good things happen. But to me, those two belong together. Like, they are destined for each other. Like he woke up 100 years later with with looking up at those eyes of Katara's. The most amazing, one of my favorite scenes of the entire show is when he is clearing his chakras and Guru Patik talks about how, like, oh, you've had a great loss, like the Airbenders really loved you, but the love the love the Airbenders have for you aren't gone, but they just transformed into a new love, and it shows Katara like coming from that, and that's a moment that can just like bring tears to so many people's eyes. So I think this ship is a really good ship.
Very well. Shawn.
Oh, make me get a second. The feelings that we commonly associate with love and attraction are just biological reactions within our bodies and our brains that fade away over time, but real love is a choice that you make every single day. So even before they were a ship and before they were a thing, they were together and working together and building up a bond that they share, and obviously made those choices and retained those choices and dedicated themselves to that over time. And that alone makes
Are you
me
writing
like
their wedding vows?
Yeah, well, kind of. No, but that alone is like, that's one of the only examples that we can present in a thorough way in the only show. So in my mind, it's like it's the ship. It's not good, bad, whatever. It has to happen. I love it because I'm a sucker for a happy ending. But even if I weren't, it's like that's the ship that the show is built on. Is this ship? So absolutely gonna ship it.
I will say that. So I was working at Hallmark at a factory making cards, and I was working with this one guy, like really tall, heavy-set guy, and somehow we talked about anime, and I was like, oh yeah, I really love this one show. It's not an anime, but it's called Avatar: Last Airbender, and he was like, you love Avatar: Last Airbender? Like, this is like right after the finale. Maybe it was like a couple months after the finale. He takes out his phone, and he was like, I love it, and his wallpaper was Aang and Katara kissing at the finale.
Wow.
My heart.
Wow.
That's how powerful this ship is, guys.
All right. Well, see, now I'm not gonna sail this ship.
Jaimee's done. We can move on. She's spoken her piece.
Yeah. I have never been a fan of this ship. Even when I was young, watching this show, I have to say, like, actually on the rewatch and as I've gotten older, I would definitely, like, I'm definitely more okay with it than I was. Also, the comics, again, added to my appreciation of this ship. But I was never a fan of it, and I think, like, I'm not a huge fan, like, the main ships in shows, I tend to not super love because I think they're so boring, and I'm like, this is so predictable. But I think it's fine. It's fine. They don't have a lot in common apart from like just the one like the fate that kind of brought them together, and I get that that's great. But like for example, like I can't read fan fiction of them. It's just so boring. I'm like, what do you even have to talk about? Like literally.
Well, to me, fan fiction wouldn't like if you're into fan fiction. To me, that fan fiction wouldn't be as interesting because it's canon. Like we already have the best.
Yeah.
Really, probably the best story that someone could tell of that ship.
I mean, but like you read fan fiction for like all like the domestic moments in between, and like they're just kind of so boring because like we understand these characters so well, or because like they literally give us on screen so much of what they would be in a relationship that it's like okay, I don't know. So I don't know, like maybe I don't like it because if like literally for no other reason than it just is kind of boring to me. It's fine.
Real love is boring sometimes, Jaimee. It's Bill Belichickian. You have to do the little things right every day to be the patriots of a relationship.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm anti-patriots, but those guys are good.
Currently non-existent, so I wouldn't know. I'm just.
Do you start every conversation with, "I don't like Katara and Aang together," because that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, that's actually on a date first thing I'm like, Aang, super boring.
You're going to want to take that off your profiles. You don't want that to be your leading sentence, all right? You're going to have to come out more positive.
I know. I'm so cynical, and I think even as a kid, I was about this shit because I was like, ugh.
You know what's interesting is that I kind
Also,
of do think you would like more of I think their relationship gets challenged probably more when they're adults. Like Aang as a father, we learned that Aang wasn't the world's best or world's perfect dad, and that's fine. That humanizes him more, and I think that relationship would humanize him with Katara. Like, I'm sure Katara would be like, "Hey, you need to spend some more time with Bumi and Kaya." And like, I'm sure maybe they had a couple fights about it. Like things probably weren't all so rosy as pretty much the rest of the series and comic book show.
I mean, the thing is,
and also without you go.
I mean, I don't want to come across as the opinions that like a relationship has to be like it has to be ultra complicated and like
Yeah.
No, that's really bad. But like, I think that like these two, I wonder if they really would works as well if it were outside of this context. Like if the war had not been a thing, if everything was as normal as it could be, if they would still be, because I do think that there are ships, like there are characters that I feel like in every universe, in every iteration of the story, they should be together. I'm not sure if really Katara and Aang do that for me, but it's a fine ship. I'm not gonna sink it. I float it. It's totally fine. Just a little on the boring side for my taste, but it's fine.
All right. Yeah, of course I'm gonna ship this. This is the like Shawn said, this is the ship that really I think supports the whole show. Which I do find comical. Sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, well, if they do the live action one, make Zutara canon." I'm like, that would would change the whole show.
Right. I think that I'm telling you, I'm putting this on the record. I think that they should float Zutara, as in just give it enough to like it could be fun for a half a second, but obviously the real ship is Katara and Aang, and that is what the show is built on. But I think I think we could play around with Katara and Zukka a little bit more. That's just me.
I think.
All right, Shawn. I am. Oh, go.
I think Katara and Aang would work. Would still work outside of this context if they had met. Like obviously it was a certain amount of context that brought them together in a very special circumstance, despite the 100-year difference in age. But I still feel like if they had stumbled into each other somehow in another scenario, I generally like their compatibility as a pair. But now we're getting into pretty fluffy subject matter with that. But in general, I'm happy to sail this one all the way.
Oh yeah. All right. So that is the canon ships, and Kataang is a good segue into the next set of ships, which are the credible or fan fiction ships. And the first one we're going to talk about is the most controversial ship there is in the show. It is Zutara ship.
I'm bouncing over here, Jaimee. I'm so excited to talk about this one.
I'm just let Jaimee go first. I feel like she just wants to unleash everything.
On why Zutara is the best ship. No, okay. So there.
Careful, Jaimee. I have a mute button. About to go around the horn on you right now.
It's all good. I will keep this very concise because I've.
No, don't. No, this is your time, Jaimee. This is what we brought you here for. This is your moment.
Is so interesting, and I think that they have so much in common. Where I was saying that I don't see what Katara and Aang would have to talk about outside of like the war and everything. Like, I think that Zuko and Katara are so close in personality and life experience that they would just get along so well. Because if you think about it, like we know that Zuko has a temper, but so does Katara. And I think that they would be able to kind of balance each other. Well, first of all, the fire and the water thing, like, come on.
That's a stupid argument. We can toss that nonsense out.
I know, we hate it. Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry. I was saying in terms of people who say, like, fire and water not being together, and that's a reason for not Zutara. I was defending you. We can throw that from those people out.
Okay,
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I mean the fire and water thing, like that's just so great. Like I'm a big like I love contrast. I love the red and blue. I love all that. But I also think about like their personalities. Like Katara is quite hot-headed at times, and she's kind of aggressive. And I think that like the balance there with that would be that she would be able to tell Zuko in the way that she kind of calms down Aang at times. Like she would be able to rein Zuko in, and Zuko would also be able to validate her feelings when she's angry, because I don't think that they get validated enough. And I think that she has often a lot of reason to be mad, which is why in the episode where they go off together, what is that episode called? I'm blanking on the name.
Southern Raiders.
Yes, Southern Raiders. I think that's such a great episode because he actually does validate her feelings in that episode, and he's also equally as he respects the fact that she doesn't actually go through with murdering that guy. Too, and I think their compatibility is just so interesting. They also, they both. I think one of the most powerful lines is when, in Crossroads of Destiny, when she says that like, she lost her mother to the Fire Nation, and he says, "Yeah, so did I." Like that's one of my favorite moments in the entire show. They just have so much in common, and I just think it's a super interesting ship. I think it's really interesting that he would go from, in his redemption arc, he goes from villain to hero, that he also gets that redemption as well, that he's also seen as valuable by somebody else who was he once saw as an enemy. Enemies to lovers, man, that's a good time. we love that. I don't know, that's all I gotta say. I love Zutara so much. I think it's so interesting.
Okay, so I read today someone was defending Zutara, and they said like the Aang and Katara relationship is actually toxic, which I found laughable. That they would think that a Zutara relationship would be somehow less toxic than Aang and Katara relationship, because like Zuko tried to kill them several times. And Katara, even after Zuko joined Team Avatar, this should have been the moment that completely killed everyone's hopes at Zutara, right? And Zuko joins Team Avatar, and she comes to him and says like, "I'm watching you. If you take, I know you think this is your destiny to help Aang, but if you take one step out of line, just give me one reason to doubt you, you won't have to worry about your destiny anymore, because I will end it right then and there." That is a woman threatening another man if he hurts the man that she loves. So to me, that completely negated any of their ships.
I mean, I think that like when we are like talking about shipping, like obviously like I never for a second thought that Zutara was actually going to be canon. Like I never thought that it was going to be Endgame. It really it was just not on the table. I never assumed it would be. And then they, you write these moments that obviously like there's gonna be a lot of malice in that ship, especially in the beginning and when he first comes and joins them. That's just all sorts of. There's a lot of problems there, but I think that it kind of more comes down to. I don't know. To me, it comes down to like their compatibility, and actually, when you look at just the people that they are, they're so similar. And I think that's one of the best things about kind of this like opposites attract idea, is that they only appear to be opposites. They're not really. I'm not gonna say that it's that Katara and Aang is more toxic. I do not agree with that. I think that like toxicity in relationships comes from, again, manipulation, or one using the other for their own means rather than the bettering of the person as an individual. And I don't think that Zutara is toxic in that way. We have to get past the fact that they were enemies. That is part of it, though. So I don't know. I love Zutara. I'll fight it. I'll fight for it every day.
Every day of your life.
Every day of my life.
That's why you're here, is to keep fighting that fight. And what a platform with tens of viewers to make your case to. Canonically, there's no more here to me. There's no more weight or support than with Katara and Jet. I don't think there's any more validation that this should work than that would work. Personally, there's too much drama for me. It wouldn't work out any better than me going out on the street and finding anyone else with a similar sense of humor who also kind of likes sports and kind of likes nerdy things. Those very, very superficial things to have in common, I guess. I guess I see the commonalities there, but I don't know. I think we put a lot of weight into that stuff sometimes, and we don't get deeper at the root of what people's end game in life is, maybe. And I don't know. I just don't see a lot here on either side, canonically or personally.
The unity, the thematic unity of the Fire Nation and the Water Tribe, you don't see it.
That's a lot of weight to put on two people trying to string together a relationship. I don't know. It's too dramatic for me in general, and I'm a big fan. What's the quote from Speed? Relationships started under extreme circumstances never work out. It's a stupid quote, but I'm a pretty firm believer in that kind of thing. I truly do believe that the best relationships are born and made in the minutia and the small things and the daily things. And so these types of types of really dynamic, dramatic relationships, they'll never be of any interest to me. For what it's worth, I'm still willing to float it out of pure interest and out of an understanding of how people work and interact and grow, and to see that it could have been a thing or a flash in the pan for a second in the live action series or whatever. I'm still willing to float it out of pure interest and intrigue in the two people here. But
I think this is interesting. The other thing too is that so for Katara and Aang, I would not read fanfiction of it. It's so boring. But for Zutara, it's super interesting because the fanfiction is where that minutia that you're talking about lives. It's often especially a lot of the Zuko ships.
There's a really, really important word there though that you just used. Very important.
Fanfiction.
I have none, and it's not that we're not using it here. I've never read the comics. I've never read fanfiction. I've got what's right in front of my face, and it's not there for me.
I'm just saying this is actually true of a lot of my of all ships. I think if I'm not sure if I actually ship something, I'll go and read the fanfiction, and then I will know if I do or not, because the fanfiction is where that relationship gets fleshed out and where the personalities can really kind of come to light. And the Zutara ones are so interesting because they do have to kind of work through a little bit of this weird, malice that they have. But Zuko also, as we'll see in season 3 when we get there, that he is so not mean on. He's just so awkward and shy and just doesn't know how to talk to people. And that's kind of a lot of where the problem comes. And when he gets over that, then he's actually really sweet and caring. And so yeah, the fan fiction may have turned the ship for me. Even if you get into Legend of Korra and what little we have to work with there, and again, I haven't read the comics, but I have a feeling there's sort of more support in there. I don't think Zuko would ever swing that far, that direction of I don't know. I don't want to say of being nice, but of being the type of person that Katara would have as a husband. I don't feel like I ever get enough support for that he would go that far that direction, I guess.
Oh yeah. So my the thing about Zutara that I think I've come to realize is that it is a product of a lack of choices. And I say this because I wish I could get some data on this. Because I feel like, and I'm making huge generalizations here, but I feel like most people I see who ship Zutara are women or are girls. And so you kind of relate and project onto a certain character. The most dominant female character in the show is Katara from season 1. So now you're kind of in Katara's shoes. So as, say, a teenage girl or even an older girl, right? Aang is a 12-year-old boy.
Yes, exactly.
And Sokka is her brother. So then you're left with Zuko.
And Sparky
And
Boom Man.
yeah.
Okay.
And Zuko is, even though he's a teenager, he still is a cartoon. You can kind of put him into more of a man role. So to me, this ship mostly just comes from a lack of choices. They're like, oh well, Zuko's left. I guess let's ship
that's
this.
a theory that I don't necessarily disagree with, but let me say on the record, Zuko is freaking hot. He always has been. He's amazing, and I love.
And that's part of it.
His own. And yeah, and I mean, like, when I was younger, Katara was my role model. Katara was like, I saw so much of myself in Katara. So obviously, I was like, well, she should be with Zuko. This is the way better option to. Also, like, Aang is 12, and that just seemed really weird. I don't see how any 14-year-old girl or older would be interested in someone younger than her. Like, that to me, just my brain did not compute.
He's 112.
Is that better or worse?
That's probably weirder, actually.
But the
He's
thing is,
gonna die
though,
soon,
like,
and you get his money. I don't know.
No, man.
To me, that's a lot of projection, because Zuko is technically probably 3 years older. Because does he start the series at 15 or 16? I think he starts the series at 16 and turns 17 by the end of it. So at one point, he may be 3 years older than Katara. Aang is 13 by the end of the series. I'm not sure if Katara's age changes. But Aang, I would think, is closer in age to Katara than Zuko is.
No,
but to me, that is audiences projecting their attraction to an older man.
And
rather than
Zuko is going to be almost resoundingly seen as more attractive than Aang, especially, if I may say, Zuko with hair. I prefer him with the full head of hair. I like a little unkempt myself. So Zuko with a head of hair, yeah, a million times more attractive than Aang. Dude's ripped. I get it. Like, I see that part. But that's nothing to build a ship out of, Jaimee. God.
I cannot believe you are not giving Zuko any credit whatsoever. See, you.
I just said he was hot. What do you want from me?
I just don't give Zuko's personality enough credit. He's been through so much. He's really angry. He has a lot of problems. Yes. But once that is all stripped away, once the war is over, once everything is golden, like, he can just be himself. And the himself that he is this, like, very kind and gentle, like...
I don't have that to work with. I do not have that to work with. And B, there's, like, forgive and forget, that kind of thing. Like, he can be forgiven, but I'm still not going to forget that part where he tried to kill them for, like, this whole season and a half. 2 whole seasons. And so, like, you can't erase all that things. Like I said, you can forgive it, and I think they obviously get to that point, but not so much in the forget side. I'm not ready to go there yet, and I don't have that. I don't see that side of Zuko. I just see
everything we could say about Zutara. It's fine.
Yeah. So that's why I'm glad you're here, Jaimee, because I am sinking this ship.
That's so rude.
The biggest miss of this entire... Listen, I know I screwed it up, but by not putting the ships over here. But the bigger screw up I'm starting to see is that we can't see Jaimee's reactions that well to the things that Chris says because of the way the microphone's just... It would have been so much better if Jaimee's face had been here when Chris was saying anything at all. For the record, no, I'm floating it. I don't have to have one person to one ship. And I still enjoy... This is the climax of this whole episode, is talking about this ship. I enjoy talking about it, enjoy thinking about it. It is totally credible. It's
valid.
I'm going to say credible. I like the word credible better. Plausible, even. And it's very interesting and fun to talk about. So I'm still floating it.
And of course, Jaimee is sinking the ship. I'm kidding.
I'm sailing it all the way. Oh, God.
You keep sailing, Jaimee. That's why we need you on this show, for balance. That's why you're here.
That's true. I will say that she's probably more adamant about that ship than we are about Kataang.
I think so.
The Zutara shippers are very adamant, so much to the point of exhaustion.
That's probably because those people identify very strongly with Zuko and or Katara, who are very fiery, passionate people. That's what Jaimee's getting at right there.
You're starting to get it.
I am,
What
but
if
I'm not gonna open up to it. I gave you a float and I called him hot. That's it. That's where it stops.
That was honestly a lot. Okay, so next ship is Zuki, which is Zuko and Suki. I will say this: there's way more here than what's in the show. In the comic books, they share so many moments together. Suki works. Her and the Kyoshi Warriors are bodyguards for Prince Zuko. They share a lot of intimate together time to get,
They do.
and I feel like the writers are hinting at the relationship. There's come a certain point where like Zuko's little sister, which dang Shawn, sorry.
You can spoil it. It's fine.
Okay.
Spoilers for the comics.
Oh wait,
Yeah, it's fine.
wait, have you read the comics? Yeah, you've read the comics, Jaimee, but not you, Shawn.
Yeah, I have.
Anyway. Okay, so at some point she says like, "Oh, Suki's so pretty, isn't she, Zuko?" And Zuko says, "Yeah, she is." Like writers don't put that stuff in there if they're not hinting at something.
Yeah.
But so that's most of their relationship.
All right, so start us off. What you got? What do you?
Oh, I'd have so little basis on this one. I'm not sure I can help, but I could. If we're at a place where Zuko is past some of his issues, past some of his walls. I don't know. I guess I could see it being an interesting pair, but I have so little to contribute on this one. There's not much to work with in the show, so I'll have to default to you guys. I guess I'd float it out of intrigue again.
Yeah.
Well, so I think this ship can work for a couple of different reasons. One, as a sign of getting over the war, it would make sense that Zuko would marry a high, like ranking, prestigious person from the Earth Kingdom, like Suki is the leader of the Kyoshi Warriors, who she has the Avatar's namesake. So that would help to lead to peace and everything. But beyond that, they do seem to get along, and I think the difference between this ship and Zutara's ship, while Zuko burned down both of the villages, there's still a lot more intimate moments between these two, where Zutara has none of these moments.
Oh, that's a lie. Okay.
I don't think it's a lie. I don't think you can point to anything.
See, we're missing so much here by not seeing Jaimee's facial expressions as Chris says that. We're missing. I'm so sorry, world, that I've deprived us of this joy. I'm sorry.
That is a straight up lie.
Nope, I tell only true. I am the objective geek.
No. That's a lie. Cross of Destiny and also Southern Raiders both. Oh, and also, how about the finale of the entire show? Super intimate moments.
All right, and objective geek, didn't we agree that it had to be within the realms of the TV show? Like, try to take that other stuff out, man. You don't have much to work with. I'm pretty sure you said it. I'm pretty sure you said. Don't make me pull up that conversation. No.
You can go back. I said no Legend of Korra and no Rise of Kyoshi. Those are my words.
That's fair. I'll go back. I'll dig up. I'll see if you said no comics somewhere, but I implied no comics because most of the things we do is within the realms of the show only.
Unfortunately, Shawn, I have to include the comics in these discussions because otherwise, like, I would just hate May so much.
That's fair. It makes sense. I do hate May a whole lot. I get it.
So yeah, without the comics, she would be nothing to me. But actually, as far as in terms of this ship, it felt weird in the comics to me. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't hate it, but I was like, this is running up against a whole lot of problems for me.
Because somebody else stealing your man.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I'm not sure if I like this. Mostly because at the time that I was reading the comics, I was also really into another ship that we will get to eventually. That I will not say now, but the Suki thing just not. Ooh, I was like, I don't know if I can. It was weird when I read it in the comics. I will say that. Like, I thought I was like, okay, I see that they're trying to do something here, but I'm gonna float it. I don't even know how to articulate what I feel about this ship other than like, what?
I'm gonna float it out of interest and potential and lack of knowledge.
I
I am going to ship it.
Really? Oh my god.
Jaimee,
Wait,
if you
Your reactions are
react,
really good.
you won't ship Zutara. Oh my, we gotta. All right, next. What's next?
Jaimee, if you react loudly enough right when Chris says things, your picture does pop up over top of his. So keep reacting loudly so you can see those facial expressions.
Okay. The next credible ship is Tokka, which is Toph and
Oh,
Sokka. There is, I in a sense call this ship somewhat canon because it is canon that Toph does have a crush on Sokka. That is both from the series and also the creators mention that in commentaries, and everything that that kiss that she so in Serpent's Pass. Toph is in the water. She's about to sink. She says, "Save me!" And Sokka's like, "I'm coming, Toph." And then Suki jumps in there
yeah.
and saves her. And then Toph thinks Sokka saves her. Oh, Sokka! And she gives her a kiss, thinking it's Sokka. And in the commentary for the episode, the creators did say like, "Yeah, this is our way of showing that Toph does have a crush on Sokka." Granted, this crush
That's
goes
not
one way.
what it means, though. That's not what that means.
Well, to me, the canon part of it is that she does have the crush, right? She blushes all the time around
Yes,
Sokka.
yeah.
That's the part of the canoning. I mean, the ship isn't
Right.
canon, but to me, the crush is canon.
The crush is canon, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the part for me, Jaimee, where I can see maybe why you are not attracted to Aang, because it's really hard for me to look at Sokka and ship him with a younger girl. Like, that's what Chris was saying earlier, where it gets a little just like strange feeling. So I have a hard time with this one. I also just don't know that it's a good match personality wise.
Not at all.
Skills and favorites and things that they enjoy. Like, I don't super duper product of circumstance. I'm tossing this one. I'm sinking it.
I sink this so hard.
Yeah.
I never want to. This is truly awful to me. Like, I hate this ship.
There are.
So much.
I will say this: there are so many people who love the ship. So in my video of is Sokka Suyin's father, like no matter like how much evidence I put out there that he wasn't her father, whether it was that like so many people are like, no, he's the father because this and this and this could have happened. And I'm like, okay,
Could have. That's a big word right
passion.
there. Yeah, could have.
Yeah, like
could have.
Like I love your passion. Like the mental gymnastics you have to do to get there. It's like saying that like, all right, Sokka and Suki broke up, so that one thing that's plausible. And then Toph wouldn't be able to tell Sokka that Suyin is his daughter, but that makes Toph look terrible. Or Sokka knows that Suyin is his daughter, and he's just not a father, he's not around. That makes Sokka look terrible. Like to me, there's no way that Sokka could be her father.
And I hate mental gymnastics.
Love that.
Yeah,
I
we know,
despise
Shawn.
them.
Like,
yeah.
And delivered on a silver platter too.
Yeah, I like Sokka so much that it is, and again, I'm going back to like Chris's theory about girls of a certain age maybe wanting Katara to be with Zuko. Whether or not that's true, I get where he's coming from. Just thinking about like pinning Sokka with Toph is really strange to think about and ship together. Yeah, I get it's weird.
I think the people that do ship them, I don't know if it's just because like,
Toph is awesome.
I mean, I like Toph, obviously.
I love Toph,
this ship does not work on any level for me. Nothing of this. Like, they do not feel compatible in any way. And also, just, I can't, like, to try to picture them in a romantic relationship, I can't do it. I've tried to read fic to actually understand what people see in this, and I can't do it. Just a big no from me.
All right, so you two are syncing it. You know, I'll float it simply for the fact that Toph does have a crush on him. I guess I could say it's a difficult. I don't think personality wise they match up together, but I think it's enough to float the ship.
I like that ship. Like I love that they're friends. I don't want more of them.
All right, here's a really quick one. Don't want to spend too much time on. There is the Duke And then a lot of people ship the Duke with Toph. The Duke is a member of the Freedom Fighters.
I'm down for that. I'll say that. I'm down. We don't have to spend a lot of time on that. But
give me a float for lack of information and lack of caring for the most part. Give me float. It seems plausible enough.
I'm going to ship it.
You guys are so
All right,
liberal. You're so liberal with your ships. You're crazy.
Shipping it for
All right,
sure.
the next one is Tai Laka, which is Ty Lee and Sokka. Ty Lee has shown great interest in Sokka, and even Sokka is seemingly attracted to Ty Lee, which he gives her a nice little look at times. And several times she says that he's cute.
Yeah.
And that's really the most of their relationship. But I could see this happening. Like if Suki did leave Sokka, that relationship didn't work out, and Ty Lee is already in the Kyoshi Warriors, I could see them naturally getting together.
Yeah, I'll float it for sure. I think.
Jaimee, you're talking about matching personalities with Zuko and Katara, and you're gonna float this instead of ship it. Think about Ty Lee and Sokka. They're so like.
I'm not. I think that the issue for me of why this wouldn't be a complete why I'm not shipping it all the way is because of the Suki thing. I think that she would have to be real chill with it. I don't know. They'd have to have some sort of discussion in the Kyoshi Warriors of who is out of bounds.
Because I didn't read the messages the other day, this is the first time that I've ever thought about this ship. I know there's the one piece in the show. There's the one bit in the show where she says, I don't know, he's kind of cute or something like that. And that's like all we get in the show, I think. The rest is probably comic book. But now that it's the first time I'm thinking about it, it's adorable. It's perfect. They're both hilarious and goofy, and their kids are going to be hilarious and goofy. Let's make it happen. I'm shipping it. Let's do this one.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I'm going to float it. That's cool. It's cool.
It's going to be the funnest ship.
I am going to ship it.
All right. Yeah, it's cool. It's good.
Some goofy ones there. I like it. Some goofy ones.
Okay, a real quick one that doesn't require that much attention. I think there is the June row, which is June and Iroh. And this is the worst Iroh has ever looked when when June and Iroh, remember that episode, Bado the Water Tribe, which I think is the worst episode of the series. Remember when her Shushu hits June and she gets paralyzed but falls on Iroh, and Zukka also gets paralyzed, but Zuko's like, Uncle, I didn't see you get hit.
I'm not touching this one. I'm not. No, sinking it, not touching it. That's weird.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna sink it.
I like that. I really like that June Sparky Boom Man. Let's talk that one.
I do too.
Let's ship that one. That's good stuff.
I'm sorry. I think that June should be with a wonderfully powerful woman.
That's fair. Oh, that's fair.
Ooh, okay. Well,
who
could
Azula?
How could she be with them?
Jazula?
Own?
Okay, that would be. I'm about that.
See, let's do that. We made
it.
Jaimee, hit the wiki and start typing this stuff down.
But how old is June? For some reason, I imagine June being 25.
She could be we first meet her in what's essentially a bar. She could be quite a bit older. But whatever.
Maybe 21.
Azula is
when she becomes of age,
matured beyond her years.
I forget that Azula is as young as she is.
Oh yeah, I do too. Whatever. Let's throw it out the window. I'm shipping it. Shipping that one that we just came up with right now. Look, it's gonna be like a dramatic love triangle with Sparky Boom Man and Azula and it's gonna be so much fun.
And Chan.
Man, I don't like Chan. I like the other three way better. Chan can be the fourth wheel that's not included.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to talk about the ship. Okay, anyway, there is the ship of Zong, which is Song and Zuko. Song was the Earth Kingdom girl who's burnt and who Zuko stayed with. Me, real quick, I'll just sink it. Zuko didn't seem to really like her at all. They just share a certain that they were both burned by the Fire Nation. But I'm gonna sink that.
Yeah, ship. I'm not feeling that. There's not interesting really. Not much there to work with. I'll sink it.
Oh yeah.
Jaimee, happy.
No, I'm thinking.
Oh
Oh,
yes.
okay.
No, nothing there.
All
That's-
right, so to the next category of ships, there is the incredible fanfiction ships.
Incredible shit.
Incredible, not
Yes.
meaning awesome, but incredible in the literal sense of the word. Is this probably wouldn't be
Really?
able to happen? It is
Some
not
of my
credible.
favorite ships are in this. Incredible.
I'm kind of curious too. I should have read the list.
Okay, so the first one is Tang, which is Toph and Aang. And so a lot of people who ship Zutara, I wouldn't say a lot of people, some of them who ship Zutara are like, well, now Aang has to be with somebody. And they choose Toph. And to me, that is not a good choice. Those two do not go together at all.
I sink this ship. Sink this ship. Not a fan.
That's a last.
Not a fan
That's
of-
the last resort of a desperate fan. Sinking
Yeah, that is. It's sinking it. It nothing works. None of this works.
No, the age,
thing is-
the age, and the fact that they're both humans that know each other, and that's where it stops.
The thing is, we sort of see this ship in Legend of Korra. Like, Aang's son Tenzin dated Toph's daughter Lin, and those two are like
Yeah,
complete
I forgot about
opposites,
that.
and those two did not work out.
Well,
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to sink that ship.
I'm sinking it. Not a fan. Next.
All right. The next one is, I believe this is the way that you like me to pronounce it, is Zukka, which is the combination of Zuko and Sokka.
My
I
boys.
feel like I should let Jaimee just talk about this ship because I never heard about this ship until Jaimee mentioned it.
Yeah,
I-
that's the first time I'd heard it.
I absolutely adore this ship. Okay, so here's the thing. If y'all want to get up in arms about Zutara, fine. Fine. Zutara, not a thing. That's cool. You can have Kataang. I don't care. Whatever. Go be boring. It's a much more interesting storyline.
I feel so personally attacked when you say "go be boring." My first thought is like, "Fine, already there, already done."
You ever watched The Good Place? I love The Good Place, but there's a line that they give of just like "you're basic," and that to me is what
All you
Jaimee just did to us.
Are you
I-
basic?
If I had a little like a ding 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 thing like that I could just put over myself right now that said "basic," I would do it. I'd do it.
Yes, you Kataang shippers, you basics. You can go and have that ship because I will fine. If you don't want to respect Zuko in the way that I respect him, bring him to me. We will ship him with Sokka, which is an amazing ship because this, I don't know, I love this ship so much. I read a lot of Zuko fanfiction. Yikes. It's really good actually. I think it's just really fun. I think that they're kind of both, I don't know, they both go through a lot, and a lot of the fan fiction for this ship happens like in the immediate aftermath of like basically seconds after the finale ends, and then it's like, well, now what do we do now? Like,
But they're
It's that May
wildly.
doesn't kiss, and it's that May doesn't get back together with Sokka. I'm guessing.
yeah, well, right, because that kind of ended weird, and yeah, anyway, I don't know, I like this ship a lot. I think it's really fun. Also, this ship I think really was the precursor to a huge ship in the Voltron fandom, which is Clance, Keith and Lance. Keith and Lance in Voltron are basically just Sokka and Zuko. Like, that's really all that is, and that's a super popular ship.
You know, I haven't finished watching Voltron. For some reason, it's so hard for me to get really into it. I got like two seasons left.
Yeah, we shouldn't. I'm not gonna say my opinions on that show, but that's a great ship. Keith and Lance are awesome, and the writers for the creators of that show did work on Avatar, and you can see a lot of those characters. And yeah, while the Zuko Sokka ship does not, there's no semblance of it in Avatar. I think that it is really what bred that relationship in Voltron. But yeah, I think it's super fun. The fan fiction's really fun. And a lot of it involves just Zuko being like really shy. Also, I think it's like my personal headcanon that Zuko is not straight. He could be bi, he could be gay, but I don't think that he's like straight. So, just throwing that out there.
I don't. It's
Personal head.
it's fun. It's really fun and interesting to talk about. I don't sense a lot of like compatibility. Like you keep saying fun and stuff, or like earlier in your defending Zutara for like compatibility reasons. I don't get any compatibility here, but I'm willing to say that it's. I don't know. It's a very fun, unexpected way to go with it, and I would be interested in seeing more about it. So, yeah, well, I'll float.
Yeah,
I'll float.
It comes like a lot more. It's always like after the war has ended, because like Zuko is so angry for the majority of the show, but I don't think that that's his actual personality. Like I think that there's a lot more to him, but so most of these ships that we're talking about, whether it's Zutara or Zukka or really any Zuko centric ship, most of it is after he's kind of calmed down a little bit from all of this nonsense that is Avatar.
So my thing with this ship is that I think the Sokka Zukka relationship is one of the most underrated friendships in the show. These two, I think, have so much in common, way more in common than Katara and Zuko do. I'm actually writing, I'm in the middle of writing a video essay on those two and how they both have grown through humility. Because they honestly have the same story, right? Their sisters are prodigy benders. They both are fairly informed by their fathers. Sokka trying to live up to the ideal of his father. Zuko trying to live up to really the idea that Zuko's father has for him. Both of their mothers die. Everything that Katara and Zuko has in common, Zuko and Sokka have in common, but even more of it. But that leads me more into them being like the best friends that anybody could be. And to me, they have so much of brotherhood that I think I find with other people. Like to me, they probably helped build Republic City even more than Aang did in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I do love there's that canon picture that the creators did of it was old friends and like Sokka is like it's like next to Zuko.
Yeah, I think I get. Yeah, it's hard if you again like what kicked this off for me was like actually reading the fan fiction, because that's really where the relationship actually builds. And a lot of it again is just Sokka being like super over the top, like he's just kind of flirty with everybody. I really like that with like Sokka just being like extremely charming, and Zuko's just like really shy and just doesn't know how to deal with attention. So yeah, I liked that dynamic a lot.
I never thought so much, or I never caught the similarities between the two. So it's interesting to hear that, and I can get on board with the similarities you presented. I'm still just saying float. I'll give it a float for the same reasons, in all fairness, as I've given other things for lack of information and what's presented to me.
Fair enough, but
I'm going to sink it because I love their brotherhood more than really I think any other platonic relationship in the show in the series.
That's fair, because I know we have a ship coming up that I have the same thoughts on. So fair.
Okay, so next one real quick is Juko. So I only included this. This is June and Zuko. It's because in my video on who Zuko married, many people were like, forget May and forget Jin. He should get with June. And I was like, June, she's so much older than him. So I just thought I'd mention it real quick. I'm going to sink that ship.
Yeah, sink it. June, you know what? All this stuff we're talking about earlier is interesting with June because it doesn't really involve settling down. It involves like a lifetime of dramatic relationship tension. And so
June's not settling down.
Right, she's not settling. That's
down.
why the Sparky Boom Man Azula thing. That's why that's interesting to me. So I'm sinking this. It's easy.
Like she was probably with Sparky Boom Man for years, and then she got word that he died, and she was just like, surprised it hadn't happened sooner. And then she just continues drinking.
Lasted longer than I thought it would.
She's outliving her life, man.
And then she makes a joke about him being a hothead or something like that before she takes her next drink.
Okay, the next ship is a fairly popular ship. I've seen a lot of great fan art about this, and it is Tuco. It is
Nope, Taco.
Toph
You
and
said that
Zuko.
first.
Taco.
Too late.
Neither one of them have an A in their name.
Don't care. You
The
said it.
taco
It's
ship.
stuck forever now.
Okay. This is the ship between Toph and Zuko.
Oh.
A lot of people cling on to that. She wants to go on a life-changing field trip with him like everybody else does. But to me,
That has some serious.
I mean, I'm fine.
Hey,
I mean, I guess I'm fine with this ship. Like, sure, I could see it happening. Maybe. I guess I have nothing. I guess I'm just meh on it. So
I'm thinking it so hard.
what do you guys think?
I'm surprised it falls into the incredible category, but I'm still thinking it. But it seems like it could be, you know, as credible as maybe some of those at the tail end as the tail end of the previous one. But I'm still thinking it.
To me, this kind of has the same feeling to me that Toph and Sokka have, which I hate also.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, it's, to me, it's
very
just,
similar. Yeah.
She just has a little tiny, like, they're both really cute. Like, we're not gonna deny
That's fair.
that. They're
Yeah.
both very, very cute. Like, she just has a little tiny, like crush on someone. It's not the same thing as, like, being able to be in a relationship with them. And this is just weird to me. I feel like she's too young for both of them. And she's also, I don't know, like, just...
The thing about these Toph ships, I think a lot of Toph ships, and sorry if I'm making generalizations here, is people who relate to Toph most and are more attracted to Sokka or attracted to Zuko. So that's what I think may be the basis for those ships.
True. I don't relate to Toph, like, at all, so maybe that's why I have a hard time seeing it. I like Toph's friendship with Zuko. I like her friendship with Sokka. I don't ship her with either of them.
The farther in we go, the more and more I connect with this idea of you have that character that you relate to first and foremost, and that's the character whose ships you're the most passionate about. I can get behind that. Like, I find myself the most interested in Sokka's ships, and that's because I like Sokka best.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, I don't think I relate necessarily to any single character.
Well, Chris, you're clearly
Avatar.
Iroh.
Like,
You're clearly Iroh.
I think it's obvious.
Like,
no,
Legend of Korra,
I'm not joking. I'd label Chris as an Iroh person.
Oh, but in Legend of Korra, like, it's not that I relate to Korra most, but that's the character that I absolutely love the most, and I do ship Korrasami the hardest in that show, and Sami is. She's probably the most attractive person, and like, she's made to be.
She really is.
I can get on board with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't have to be within the show, but yeah, if you've picked Korra out, or if Korra hits you the hardest as a character, and that's probably the ship you defend the most. I'm getting more and more on board with that idea.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Wait, did I say where I think I was floating that one. And you two were singing the taco.
Yeah, I'm thinking it. I like the name though. Also, did I mention I'm very hungry?
All right, so the next one is pretty interesting. It is Azuka, which is Azula and Sokka. I've seen a lot of great fan art behind this.
I don't get
It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
No
Go ahead.
Nope, sinking it. Hard sink. This is just people throwing things at a wall to see what sticks, and it's not sticking to my wall.
I don't get
But shouldn't all the Zutara shippers want them to go on a double date together?
Oh.
Horrible. That is truly
ew.
awful.
Oh.
And I no, I don't want that at all.
This is like when I do silly stuff, like when I throw out, like, hey, what about Ming and the boy from the Earth Kingdom family that Zuko taught how to sword fight? This is those people throwing out ideas in the same way that I throw out that idea out. And if it invokes any kind of reaction from the internet, they're like, it's a thing, because the internet reacted to it. That's what this is.
So, like, you said that you saw fan art of this. I don't feel like I really know this one. Like, this makes no sense in my brain. Like, I don't get this one.
Well, I feel like it's Zutara.
It's
but
not Zutara.
But reverse.
No, it's not.
It's the way worse version of Zutara, even.
No, don't compare
coming from a not Zutara fan, and it's still the way worse version.
Now, I will say this: I think Azula could use a person like Sokka in her life to lighten her up.
I'd rather her wind up with Chad.
Yeah.
Or Chan, sorry.
Chan.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Chad.
Chad sounds so much worse.
Oh,
though.
sorry, Chad. I didn't mean to do that. Azula is my favorite villain in this series, and Sokka is my favorite hero in this series, and it doesn't line up for me on either side. I'm just not digging.
The thing about like I don't ship anybody with Azula.
After all this talk about June, I thought we were on to something.
Oh no! All right, I should.
Yeah.
That's,
They can just
cool.
be crazy in prison together. It'll be great.
I think that Azula needs to figure herself out before she can really be shipped with anybody.
That's probably
but
fair.
Sokka to me does not make sense at all. Like I think that he would get on her nerves so bad.
Ooh, yeah, that's true.
I do not think that she could like stand to be in a room with him for any amount of time. Like,
yeah, you know what? I was ready to float this ship, but you know, I'm gonna sink it now. That is true. That would be an abusive relationship.
it would just not be good. Like,
I agree. Yep. That's no good.
All right, is that our first three? No, I'm pretty sure all three of us have sunk a ship before.
I think we've sank. I don't know if we all three shipped the very first one, and we've definitely all three sunk a couple, but not a ton.
Okay. All right, the next one is Zula, which is Ty Lee and Azula.
Aren't they related?
No, they're not related at all.
No, they're not cousins?
No, they're not cousins.
Oh, no, I thought they were from the same family tree.
Trust me, I refuse to put up say family.
Okay, no, that's good. I apologize for my lack of knowledge. I legitimately was thinking they were from the same family tree. Is May related?
No. They're just all like high-ranking families.
Okay. I want better for Ty Lee, so I'm still sinking it.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think on this?
So, I can see Ty Lee being a bi because she's clearly into Sokka, but also she's quick to compliment Azula on everything from her looks to her commanding presence and everything. I think she has a great admiration for Azula, and I think she betrayed her really out of nowhere, not because she didn't like her, but because Azula was about to kill May.
Yeah.
I think Azula could use someone bubbly. To me, they could live like a long, like
how's this going to be any less abusive than Sokka and Azula? How's it going to be much different? If anything, let's get to the Sokka and Ty Lee train.
So
here.
the Sokka and Azula relationship, Azula looks down on Sokka. Like she calls both her and Katara peasants all the time. But Ty Lee is a high-ranking member of the Fire Nation. Like she respects Ty Lee. She wouldn't get Ty Lee to be on her side if she didn't completely respect her.
Does she? I don't know. She's still very abusive and manipulative, and I'll go back to Jaimee's last line of she's gonna have to chill out before I put her with anybody. And I really like Ty Lee, so I want Ty Lee to do better. You can do better, Ty Lee.
To me, this is probably like, you know, after the show. All right, this is like after Azula has chilled. She's gotten some therapy. Ty Lee has visited her because Ty Lee still wants the best for her.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I always thought that like Ty Lee got more often shipped with May than with Azula, but I have seen her.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen Ty Lee and May a lot more. Which I ship that. I'm down with that. But with Azula, I don't know. I have a hard time picturing Azula with anybody. And to Shawn's point, yeah, Ty Lee could do. Ty Lee can have anyone anywhere that she wants.
It's clearly Shawn from the show.
Yeah. I'm much closer to the idea of Ty Lee and May, but I'd still argue that even that seems like kind of a product of circumstance.
I'm more against that for some reason.
Like
I haven't thought about that enough.
I think they work better together as a pair than Azula would with either one.
Yeah. No, I think that Ty Lee and May are really cute together. I definitely ship that. I don't ship Azula and Ty Lee. I don't know if I get, but
I'm just jealous because I want Sokka to be with Ty Lee.
I don't want that.
I
but okay.
do. I want those hilarious children, those goofy acrobatic.
Oh gosh.
I really want it.
See, I like the ones that are like a little bit of like an opposites kind of dynamic. Like I don't want Sokka to be with someone who's equally as like goofy and funny. That's why I like him and Zuko so much. Like I don't know. I like the opposites.
All right, I am going to ship Azula. Not Azula. I'm sorry. No, I'm going to ship Azula.
I'm not feeling it. I'm thinking it.
Okay.
I guess I'm gonna. I don't know. I'm gonna float it, but it ain't going very far.
It's a big
All right, so
float.
real quick, since we brought it up, I guess it'll be Jaimee. I'll
Ship it.
I'll sync
Let's go with
Jaimee
Melee.
because
Let's go with Melee. I like that better.
Ooh, Melee. Yeah, I like that better. Melee. But even though I like that name better, to me they're just so polar opposites that I don't see that.
I feel like they want more of the same things. I'm floating that one for sure. I'll float it.
I am shipping that.
Um,
It's cute. It's real cute.
I'm gonna sync it.
Come on.
Although you kind of say it's cute. You know what? It kind of would be a little cute. I'll float it.
Think about this though.
It's a safe float.
The goth girl and the cute bubbly one, that's a trope.
The goth girl and the cheerleader.
That's
you know what? Just that is almost makes me want to ship it.
You just about hit on a new spin-off series right there. You've just done it right there. No, but in all practicality, from what we've shown, I'm happy to float that and see where it goes.
Someone needs to make that happen in a film or something. The goth girl and the cheerleader. It needs to happen.
It's real cute.
Gosh, dang it! Now, how can I go from sinking it to ship? I don't know if I can. I have.
Just give it a safe float. You can't swing 180 like that's crazy.
Nope, I love the idea too much. I'll ship it.
Yes! Oh my god! I won this battle. I'm so excited. Yes. Excellent. So let's move on before you can change his mind.
Go back on my word. Okay.
I know the stakes are really high here. It's so dangerous to change your mind.
Okay. The last one is one that I've seen a lot of fan art about it, and it is Zhang, which is the Zuko and Aang relationship. I honestly don't see that. don't see this as much. I mean, yeah, it's just hard for me to fathom this. Maybe because those two are so intertwined with other people.
Yeah.
That I don't know. It's just hard for me to imagine this.
Yeah, I also have seen a lot of fan art of this. I've seen some fan fiction. I've tried to read it. It ain't my thing. It's not. I don't see this at all, actually. Oh, okay. As I've gotten older, I see it a little bit more, but I don't. Like, initially, I was like, what is happening here? I don't get this. I think that my issue with it is that, like, I want. Okay, well, the issue is that I've shipped Zuko with so many other people. Like, although let's be honest,
Zuko is shipped with everybody but Azula, unless you're in that weird people crowd.
Like,
I'm not gonna acknowledge that on here.
Yeah, let's not.
I ship Zuko with. I could probably ship him with everybody on this show, to be honest. But and like, I think him and Aang are fine. I don't see how this would be a very like interesting or like even like well fleshed out relationship. I don't know. I like them as friends. Like what you were saying with Sokka and Zuko. This is how I feel about Zuko and Aang. I think it's really cool that they have such like a unique bond. And that they grew to be friends, I cannot ever see them being more than that. Also, Aang is 12, and I don't like that. So, not a fan.
Yeah, this one's just not hooking me in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to say sync, but I don't want it to be like a real hard sync. Just a regular sync for me.
Yeah, it's not a hard sync. It's just like...
Yeah, man.
I don't even want to float it, though.
Right, it's a sync. It's just a slower sync. Like there's just 2 or 3 holes in there, but it's still going down.
Yeah, like I fire the cannon at it, but like it's going down.
Yeah. I don't have to save you. That's all.
I'm about to kill you, but I'm about to save you.
I'll
Either.
have to save you.
All right. One last one. It wasn't on the list here, but Shawn wouldn't know the difference anyway.
You know what? I can only apologize so many times before I just hit the stop recording button and go upstairs.
This will probably fall under the credible one, which is the Mang and the Aang, which I don't know what it's called, but either way, I'll float it. You know, I don't know. Sure, I'll cut her bone, cut her slack.
No, she's got to end up with the little boy from the Earth Nation, or from the Earth
Oh,
Kingdom.
yeah.
She's got to end. So
I forgot.
I gotta sink it just to ride that one. That they're gonna just casually meet and be like, "Hey, I met the Avatar one time, dude. I met the Prince of the Fire Nation one time," and then that's gonna be an interesting conversation, because the Avatar and Aang and Zukka are still alive, and that'll be fun for them to talk about.
Yeah.
That's one. So that's where I'm going. I don't know that little boy's name. I'm sorry.
I am looking it up.
Well, while he's looking that up, I'm just gonna start tossing out a couple of names, not ships. I'm just tossing out names that I feel like deserve some ships. Haru, we gotta get Haru in some ships.
You are so right.
You know what? I'll ship Haru with the mechanics, the mechanist's son. Sure.
Oh, you right. Oh my god, that's amazing. You're right.
So
You're
okay,
right.
I forgot about that kid, but that's a good one. Just another one that needs some ship. Smeller Bee, she needs some ships.
Yeah.
There's hardships with her in long shot.
Okay, and that's fair. It just it's kind of a product of circumstance, but at least you see where that's got some foundation. Who am I? There's so many good side characters with just like 2 or 3 appearances in the show that you could kind of pluck out and give good ships to.
Oh, that boy's name is Lee, so I guess the ship name would be Ling.
Ling
anyway.
Ming Ling?
The ship of Ming and Lee.
Yeah, I think that's got a cute
I
some
ship
cute
that.
potential to it.
That's true.
And we I'm just trying to think of other names that we've met that need some ships. Who does Yue? God, I always say that wrong. I still don't know how to say it. Who does her betrothed end up with? He's kind of a jerk. Who does he wind up with?
You know what? He could end up with Azula and live a very just terrible life.
They can just wreak havoc and destruction on other people's lives together.
No, he would pretty much be like Shinra, who just lives like a miserable life, like just being told what to do all the time. And
Iroh needs more ships, but I think the issue is that there's not a lot of good candidates. That's probably the issue. But Iroh deserves more good ships if he wants. Maybe he doesn't care.
I mean, he's at the tea shop.
Do we ever learn much about the mother of his child? Do we ever learn much about her?
No, we don't know her name. Don't know anything.
Interesting. Okay, so see, I feel like he deserves the opportunity to have more ships if he wants.
For sure, absolutely. I don't know. Yeah, but
I don't. There's just not a lot of good choices in that age group. Who's the Earth King? What's his deal?
Oh boy.
Yeah, who's he go after?
I mean, he eventually gets married and has the Nets Earth Queen.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that one. Never mind.
I was thinking Boomy. I was like, what's he up to?
Yeah, Boomy. You know what? I think Boomy would be hard to settle down with. I'm gonna call him a no shipper, not because he doesn't deserve it.
I think that he's just like I think he's not settling down. I think he's just.
Can we say that Boomy might be closer to Deadpool in his preferences than?
Oh, definitely.
Like, that's the first thing that came to mind. So Boomy, he can be shipped, but it's going to be in a very unique way. Yeah, and that's cool. Good work, Boomy. You deserve to ship however you need to ship.
Oh, guys, okay, I got another one for June, and maybe you guys will love it.
You said
the
June,
boulder.
Not June, right?
For June. Yes,
June, not June.
And June, as in the month.
Got it.
With the boulder.
Got it.
I mean, I still want her with a very strong, intimidating woman, but that's just me. I like it.
Yeah.
No, Chris, the boulder is going to end up the boulder and several other like earthbenders going to end up in Boomy's kingdom as part of a group kind of thing where it's like a very casual relationship group. There's probably a name for it, but
Yeah.
Just a general
you know who I'm
casual
gonna ship?
relationship group.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know who I'm gonna ship Iroh with? I'm gonna ship Iroh with Aunt Wu.
All right.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Is she the fortune teller? Oh.
Yes.
Okay. No, Iroh's above her nonsense.
Really, yeah.
Oh no,
Iroh's
they
above her
met. And
crap.
I think they met, and I'm pretty sure Iroh said she looked cute, and she said she looked cute too.
Yeah, they
Think
did
about
meet
it.
in like the episode after the fortune teller.
Yeah.
It's the one after that. No, I think you're right. Iroh's not going to put up with that kind of. He's going to respect her beliefs and then move on to somebody better. Her nonsense.
I feel like if there was anybody though that would put up with that nonsense, it would be Iroh.
It would be, yeah. You're right. He's very
chill. Like he would be so laid back about it. He'd be like,
Iroh
"Alright."
can, but he could do better. Come on,
Yeah, he probably could. He probably could.
Iroh could have any woman. I love Iroh.
Oh, guys. So I can't even think of a person to ship with Admiral Zhao, so I might not even try.
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
No, he deserves.
you said gross.
Yes. Well,
Gross.
you can ship him with like a nameless henchman who dies. That's
fair,
where, yeah.
fair. And they both.
You know what? I'm gonna create an interesting backstory with him. That one of his underlings was secretly his lover, but the Fire Nation outlawed gay relationships at that time, which they did. That is canon. And you know what? That makes him more interesting.
No, idea, right here. I got it. We're gonna base this ship off of the live action movie, and we're going Zhao and Ozai. That's what's gonna happen right here. We're gonna base it off the live action movie. That's where we're gonna pluck our evidence.
Oh Lord. God.
Uh,
Also, speaking of not that, but Ozai, and Ursa, when y'all get to the comics, I have some things to say about.
Yeah, I almost didn't even. I thought about putting that in the ship, but to me that is such a sink because that is an abusive relationship, and it goes into the level of criminality. It's that abusive.
Bad, yeah, it's real bad. But just when we get when you guys do the comics and you actually dive into that comic. Which one is that? That's
The Search.
The Search. That comic is absolutely wild. It's wow. It's a lot.
The the more I'm sitting here thinking, and like Chris's comments earlier and other things we talked about, is I'm thinking Legend of Korra might actually be more fun to ship things around it. Not that this wasn't great, but
there's more in Legend of Korra for sure.
I think it'll be more fun when the time comes. More diverse, more dynamic within the television show. More to work with, I guess. I think that'll be more fun. Like I said, not that this was bad in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. No, I respect Legend of Korra for actually not going with the initial ships.
Yeah.
That I thought was really interesting. It
gave us more fun, dynamic things on the surface in a tangible way. It wasn't secretive or in comics or anything. It's on the surface. Just more dynamics. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, and I like how it's a little bit more hey, just because these two people, liked each other at first doesn't mean that they're meant to be together.
Yeah.
I thought was a very mature take.
Yeah, it's very, very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mike and Brian wanted Legend of Korra to really grow a lot with their audience because their audience grew, and I think they just told a lot more mature stories. They're hey, you meet some people, and sometimes people in your lives aren't meant to be there forever, but they're meant to teach you a lesson that you need to learn at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
The only boring part of that one might be just that I think we're all on the same page of who we want Korra to end up with. Probably. I don't know. Maybe we're not. Well, I'm excited to talk about that one now.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to begin to tell you how long we've been talking about this one, but I am going to...
Fun episode.
Yeah, no, this was marvelous and far more character insightful than I would have thought it has been. I'm not a ship guy, but I feel like I took away far more than just ship things. A lot of details and stuff that you guys are so good at picking up, and I am not, and I never will be. And this is an interesting way to pick up on a lot of those things or piece a lot of them together. So I found it extremely insightful and helpful, and also at times hilarious.
My takeaway for this whole thing is like, I would say if you haven't like read any fan fiction of any of them, go and just, if there's a ship that you're even a little bit interested in, go find a good fic to read, because it will change the character for you in good ways. Like, I love Zuko, and a lot of that comes from a lot of the fan fiction that I read with him in it. Also from the show, but like, you get new layers. It's great. It's a great time. Yeah.
Chris, final thoughts?
I don't have that many final thoughts. Great. I really enjoyed this episode. Really enjoyed talking ships. And I tried to be open to some. I'm pretty sure I sung Zutara, but we had
you
a
changed your mind
fair
once
conversation.
on show, though. You changed your mind live.
I did.
That's pretty cool.
I'm pretty happy. I think I did get you to change your mind. To change your vote twice, so I'm solidly happy.
Not bad, yeah. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, I'm. You know what? I gotta admit that Ty Lee May ship. I sunk it at first and did a complete 180. So.
To me, it sounds more like a sitcom than a real ship, but I like comedy, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jaimee. I'm sticking with the float, though. I need more hard evidence.
Oh, well, all right.
Hit the comics. I know. I'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. Go read the comics. Actually.
I will, but I won't until it's time. But I will. Well, hey, I'm glad we had Jaimee on here, because I can't imagine what this episode would have been like if it was just Chris saying lots of things and me being like, "Yeah, that's good," and then this is way better.
Neither one of us will say anything positive about Zutara.
We'd have just skipped it just to see like people's reactions. We'd have just not acknowledged it at all. We would have not said it one time.
Put it on the list. Just it didn't come up at all in this entire.
Well, good thing the list didn't make it into the PowerPoint, huh? Anyways, to wrap things up, thank you, Jaimee. Thank you, Chris, for putting the list together. Sorry it didn't make the PowerPoint. Sorry you couldn't see Jaimee's facial reactions to everything Chris said. I hate that I'm the one here. I wish you two could have spaces here and I could be a small square somewhere, but someday we'll find better software. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for Puns and Ships, and I hope you enjoyed it. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We will have an episode next week that will be similarly Happy New Year themed in the way that this one was Christmas themed, which means not really at all. But I don't know where I was going with that. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Holidays, everyone.
Yeah. We will talk to you soon.
Puns and ships and souls of